beach. It's the first day. It's the first day of the rest of our summer. This is what I'm being told. Let's choose now to do some text, okay? That's what I'm being told by the Hype House, by the rest of the stream team. They're saying today is the summer day. What's up, crime puddles? Doing some strong chicken stuff? Can't see. My eyesight's not what it used to be, and I'm wearing sunglasses. Trying to read my chat. This is going to go well today. It's going to be fine. Haven't really got a plan. Looks like I've got a plan. It always looks like I've got a plan because everything is so elaborately decorated. But my plan consisted of turning my bowl into a cocktail and dressing like an American tourist in Europe. Should have had a little camera. I can do it. It's not too long. Give me a second.
Wow, look at that thing. God.
It looks really awesome.
A lot of snow. It's crazy how much the Lhotse face dwarfs the couloir.
I mean, Lhotse's this mythical mountain right next to Mount Everest that I've read about and learned about and thought about since I was really quite young.
It's the 4th tallest peak in the world, and it's got this splitter, perfect couloir right off the top of it.
There's probably been at least a dozen attempts to ski the Lhotse couloir, and it just hasn't been done. It's just, it's hard to summit a 28,000 foot mountain, let alone get your skis up there, have the right conditions, and be able to make the ascent.
I think anyone that's into riding big lines on big peaks is taking a look at Lhotse. I'm not willing to take that risk.
To make the first ascent of the Lhotse Couloir such an iconic ski line in the throne room of Everest, knowing Jim and Hillary, they don't go there to talk about it, they go there to do it.
Another thing yeah, I did.
Yeah! In like 4 days' time, maybe 5 days' time.
I know why. That was the thing I was going to say. Because I put on this Mountains playlist and I didn't think to set up an output monitor for it. So I had no idea how it could be heard. But now I'm seeing that the levels of that were very high, spiking a lot. I'm not going to repeat what I said. You can just imagine the great and wise things that I've been saying for the last couple of minutes. So welcome to my beach. This is my beach behind me. Yeah, not that busy, but very nice. It's a very nice beach. It actually looks a little nicer than it is on the webcam because it looks very sandy. It's not sandy at all. It's pebbles. Yeah, well, I just thought, look, if you're in Arby's channel as well on Discord, then you know that I'm big into mountains lately. And I thought it's kind of a summery thing, although it's absolutely not. You wouldn't climb a mountain in the summer. But I thought, yeah, it's cool. It's jet setting. It's a nice vibe. Let's put some mountain documentaries on in the background as well. As far as I know, this is all fine to play on there. They've been put up for free on YouTube deliberately, not like someone ripping them. These are all like Nat Geo documentaries that they want you to watch. They want you to watch them. Okay? They want you to watch them. So I've got a little playlist of them running. It might get us booted from Twitch. It might do. There's nothing I can do about that. I could stop playing them. I'm not going to stop playing them. Look at it. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Lhotse. Great peak. Great mountain. Watched this documentary the other day. It's very good. Love climbing Fortiniers in the summer. Really? Yeah, I suppose maybe. I know sort of mountains. These are Euro and Asian mountains. This is Lhotse's in the Himalayas, and I think you'd generally climb that in spring. Or Denali. I guess Denali you could. I don't know. I think you can. I mean, you don't really climb Denali. Denali is a ski destination, like a winter sports destination. I think you do it all year round. I don't know. El Capitan. you would climb in the summer, I guess. You'd be boiling, but I think that's that. I think El Capitan's warm all year round. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know that much about it. Drinking out of a commemorative Thor Ragnarok cup that they had in the theaters when it came out. Didn't watch it in the theaters, just got the cup because I thought the helmet was funny. I thought it was funny to have a very impractical cup to drink out of. 53 mountains that are considered Fortiniers. Really? Can you name them all? I don't really know anything. I don't really know about Fortiniers at all. I'm newly obsessed with mountains. It's a new thing for me. But I'm just realizing that maybe that's it. Maybe that's where I belong. I've been watching mountain documentaries thinking, God, I'd love to be on those mountains. I've never considered being on a mountain before I started watching all these films about mountains. And now I just really want to be on a mountain. I feel like maybe it's taken me this long to realize where I actually belong, and where I belong is up a mountain. It makes sense to me. I like the wilderness. I like the great outdoors. And I'm from a pretty cold place. Not mountain cold, but I think I could acclimatize. I don't really like snow. But the thing is, when you're up a mountain, you're not really feeling the snow. I really don't like snow here because no matter what I'm wearing, I'm feeling the cold and the wet of it, and that's not very nice. But if you're wearing proper mountain gear, you're not getting the liquid of the snow seeping through your gloves, or else you're going to have bigger problems. The Sawatch range. That's very cool. Yeah, drinking out of a helmet is funny to me. I have another one that is just Spider-Man's head, which is such a weird shape. Again, I went to see a different movie, and that was at the concession stand. I thought, yeah, that's pretty funny. I'm going to get Spider-Man's head. I like Spider-Man enough to drink out of his head. So yeah, I'd like to be up a mountain. I'd like to learn more about mountains. I've been watching Everest documentaries in particular lately. Watching documentaries about summiting Everest, and as we were watching it, I was watching them with my girlfriend, and we were saying how just insane it is. Like it is an unnecessary thing to reach the top of Everest. It is a stupid, dangerous, like a risk you don't need to take. And we're watching it talking about how crazy these people are and how awful it is that like you're going on a holiday where you or your friends could die at any second, and that is bizarre. However, the more I watch it, the more I think, do I want to end my life without having been to the top of Everest? Do I? Maybe I do want to climb Everest. Maybe I do. And maybe that's a really weird ambition to have for someone who's never climbed any mountain, not even the smaller ones. My girlfriend's climbed a couple of the smaller mountains. She's been up Ben Nevis and Snowdon, and a couple others that are like manageable for amateurs, I guess. I've never been up a single mountain of any kind, but I've done a little bit of free climbing, but only of quite small walls. I don't think that I could reach the top of Everest. And also it costs like $80,000 to get to the top of Everest. You can't just go and do it. There's a lot of stuff you need to pay for to get up there. It's an unrealistic goal, but I really would like to reach the top of a mountain. I think that would be great. I'd like to get there myself. I think that's the achievement. It's watching people get there and thinking, I guess there's really nothing that impressive about being on top of a mountain. Like there's nothing up there, but it's the fact that you've done it is just such a crazy thing. It's the idea you're seeing something that so many people just don't get to see, and whether that view is particularly special or not. And I think at the top of Everest it is the roof of the world. Like you can see a view of the earth that you won't get anywhere else. But I think it's just the idea of going somewhere and just thinking like 90% of humanity has never and will never see this. That's so cool. I'm really jealous. Where are you, Cry? I don't know enough about mountains to be able to pinpoint you from what you've named. But whereabouts are you? Like that is very cool. I'd love to go to I'd like to climb some of the more manageable mountains too. I'd like to go to Colorado. Oh yeah. Cool. The Rockies, for sure. Yeah, I'd like to do some American mountains. I think we've got a couple in the UK that I could probably start with. And then I'd like to do some American mountains, and then maybe I'll work my way up. Maybe I could do El Capitan. I could do is it Chilao? Do some of the Californian mountains look manageable? Because they're like hiking mountains, right? You can just go up a trail. You don't need a pick and boots and it's not like one slip and you're going to be falling to your death. I mean, I'm sure there are parts of it where that's true, but I think they're more manageable as well. I think I'll do the ones that a regular human being could do. And then maybe if I get to a point and I'm still kind of young and healthy enough, then I'll start thinking about I'm going to reach the highest peaks in the world. I'm going to do K2. I'm going to do the hardest mountain in the world for no good reason whatsoever. There's no reason. There is no reason to. I know that my girlfriend would be very mad at me if I decided to climb Everest. I think she wouldn't be happy with me putting my life at risk for no reward. But I just think mountains are so impressive, and I think I might belong there. I think that's what I was made for. I just have a hunch now. I just have a hunch I'm supposed to be up a mountain. So what else are we doing apart from having way too loud mountain documentaries in the background? We're writing Goosebumps and we're on the beach and I'm going to be throwing darts. It's all the usual chaos. That's what I'm aiming for. Except that it's much more chilled because it's summer. And I'm just talking about the majesty of nature. Running mountains here. Mount Lindsay, Mount Democrat, Mount Snowmass, Mount Columbia, Mount Sneffels. I'm extremely jealous. Are you still impressed by mountains, even though you're surrounded by them, or you just kind of take it for granted that there are mountains and you can go up them anytime you like? I think that's why mountains seem so impressive to me suddenly, because I just realized that I've never been to a mountain. I've never been anywhere near a mountain at all. I mean, I guess I've crossed the border between Switzerland and France, so I guess I probably have been within a reasonable distance of some mountains. I guess that's a mountain area of the world. They're always impressive. Yeah, being able to see one at all times is a weird feeling. That's good. I'm glad to hear that, because I think there are things that, like just a simple thing, like this beach in the background is the beach where I grew up and where I currently live. But for a few years back, for about 5-6 years, I lived about 100 odd miles inland, which is, it doesn't sound like that much, but it's still about, it's a 3-hour journey each way, and not something I would really have that much reason to do once I was living that far. And I was hours away from any coast at all. And I realized how much I'd taken it for granted being on the coast, how much I love being by the sea. Like I really do get something from being this close to the coastline. And I'd spent 20 odd years next to the coast before I moved away from the coast. I just never really thought about it until I was so far away that it was basically impossible for me to be there whenever I wanted. And it suddenly, I realized I'd taken it for granted. And I think I'd probably do the same with mountains, or I think there's a risk that when you're just used to seeing something, even if it is something like a mountain, where, I mean, it is so impressive, isn't it? It's daunting. Mountains are overwhelming. Just, I don't know. I mean, I a couple of the documentaries I've watched recently about Everest refer to reaching the top of Everest as being like standing on the gods. Like they talk about, like in a sort of literal way. There was a guy who in one of them in Ghost from Above, who spent most of his life as a photographer, kind of championing the indigenous peoples of the area, the Sherpas, and he refused to actually go that final step to the summit because he had kind of promised he would never put his feet on top of their gods. And there is something to that. I think that there is this idea that a mountain is nature, but it seems bigger than nature. It's just, they seem impossible. They shouldn't exist. And the only reason they do exist is because of this very simple natural process. Like they're just shifted plates, right? Crushing and rising as they grind against each other over millions of years. And I mean, that's all they are. They are just mounds of earth, of the planet. But they do, I mean, I can see why there is this connection to God, not just because of the heights. Although, mountains mythologically have been connected to actual gods. I mean, it there does seem something supernatural about it. There does seem something unearthly about this thing that is the purest representation of Earth. The large sand dune in the south of the state, and there is a hot spring there. Never been there. Never been there without burns, I bet. I've never been in a hot spring either. Hot springs are, they also seem impossible. They seem impossible. You get hot springs in the middle of like icy areas. It's just like, how does it work? How is that possible? How is that natural? But it is. It exists. We know it exists because people have been there. They've burned themselves in it. Hot spring sounds cool. But I never even did. I've never been like skiing or anything. I didn't come from the sort of family that went on ski trips or anything. My sister, as she got older, when she was in her 20s, she learned to snowboard while working because she went mainly Meyerhofen to she like worked the seasons there. You know, she worked in the bars and stuff, and she kind of learned to do it as that. I guess it's you have free access to it. Then it's a different sort of access to people who can just go and do it. Which again maybe has a different reputation in Europe, I guess, where it's like flying to fancy resorts. I guess if you're from like Colorado, skiing and stuff is not that. Oh, you've never gone either? Really? I was just making an excuse for you having maybe been skiing, because I guess if you live in an area where it's done, it's slightly different than like, you know, people here. You kind of do have to be pretty rich to be like, oh, I'm flying off for a ski holiday. I never did any of that. My school did like ski trips for some reason, or not ski trips, but like, you know, trips to that part of the world, and I guess that was like an optional part of it. I'm not really sure why. I think tangentially it was related to like French lessons. You know, if you were learning French, there was an option to go on this like France trip. It's close, but it costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get going. Yeah, that's the tough thing. I mean, the same with like with anything mountain based. I guess mountaineering. Like I was saying, it costs like 80,000 to get to the top of Everest now. It's not like it was in like Mallory's day or Hillary's day where you needed like a couple oxygen tanks and a tweed suit and you could just try it. I think now you need quite a lot of resources, and there is quite a lot that goes into it. And even just learning it, like how would you learn it? Like sometimes think about flying, but you end up spending more learning to fly a plane than you would at the end of it being a pilot. Like starting off as a pilot, you just don't really earn that much. It would take quite a long time to make your money back from everything you'd sunk into learning to fly a plane in the first place. Which is so weird how there is these kind of completely closed doors to so many things that you just can't do it unless you're already in a certain situation. But yeah, I don't know if I would even enjoy skiing. I mean, I would break my back instantly and die. I know that. But then I'm talking about scaling Everest, and the chances of doing that there are pretty high as well. Although I would say probably more people make it up and down Everest nowadays than die on Everest. Like obviously a lot of people do die on Everest, but I think proportionately less people die on Everest than survive Everest. I don't know, maybe that's wrong, but that seems like that would be a correct statistic. I think more people do make it down Everest. But one of the documentary I was watching about Mark Ingalls, who's a double amputee. He lost his legs in the first place through a climbing incident, through frostbite, I think, and then climbed Everest again on specially built prosthetics, and ended up getting frostbite and damaging his stumps to the point where he needed even more taken off them, which is just it's so dangerous. It's just insane. And the people who do it are so insane that even when they lose chunks of their body, because it wasn't just I think lost some fingers as well the second time. Great. You're like slowly losing every part of your physical body, and you're still trying to climb up it, which is, I mean, real commitment. Like if you know that's what you want to do, nothing's going to stop you. I think if I lost even one finger, I would quit the thing that made me lose that. I don't think I would continue trying to climb Everest at that point. Or maybe I would, I don't know. Because there was a part of one of the docks where they got really close and it was so dangerous to continue. Like they knew there was a storm coming. They had a really tiny window to finish the climb. But they were on like the second step before the summit. So I guess I think even at that point, I'd be like, I know if I get up there, I could die. Whereas if I turn back now, I'll probably be all right. But when you're that close to it, you can't give up, can you? Especially with the expense of it. I mean, to be fair, if you're someone who can drop 80,000 once to go up Everest, you're probably in a position where you can drop it a second time. But I think if I got that close, I would just be like, I'm doing this no matter what. And if you care about it that much, and you know you're gonna die someday, then you might as well die reaching the top. I think personally. Most dangerous thing you've run into the mountain lions. Whoa. Anti-bear technology, that bears aren't that big of a deal. I mean, that's crazy to me that you can take bears for granted. Because I mean, that's something. There are no bears here, obviously. We sometimes get sharks, and I don't know. I don't know what the most dangerous animal that is native to here is. There aren't really any. Well, I guess we have like wolves, but I've never run into a wolf. I think we have wolves. I don't even know if we have wolves. I think there are wolves in the UK, but certainly not enough of a problem that I have ever run into one or even heard of anyone running into one. Bears are insane. I've seen a ton of videos. I mean, I do like bears a lot. Just not scary if you know what you're doing. Yeah, I've read a lot about bears recently. I don't really know why, but I now know how to identify if a bear has been nearby by their droppings. I have figured that out. Apparently, if there are just bees in it, it's a bear, because that's what they love. The reputation of them loving honey is just that they actually eat bees. Bees are a great source of protein, and they will just eat entire hives. And then you know if you find some scat in the forest, and you're thinking, is there a bear nearby? And there's a bunch of bees in it. It's probably a bear. That's what I learned. And there's like rules, right, for different bears, what you do. Like if you play dead, or if you make yourself big, or make noises, or run away. You got to vote on wolves, like for them to get into office. I like that the show has turned into a one-on-one conversation with me and you about various wildlives and mountains. That's what the show should always be. Maybe I should switch to the late mic set and just have this be a straight up interview. So I think it's just a one-on-one chat. Super Jazz was here earlier. I don't even know if Super Jazz is here anymore. He said he'd be back. Currently just us having a chat. Strong chance that's what the show is today, which is fine by me. Give funding to repopulating the wolf population. That sounds good. Sounds about. I never really know how I feel, where I land on things like this, because there are such compelling arguments to controlling populations. There's obviously some good reasons to do that, but then I think the biggest part of me is like the let nature exist, tear down all the borders, let's just have the world be what the world is supposed to be side of me. That I absolutely just think like, animals are animals. They're going to do what animals do. We're not in charge of that. We should really, I guess it makes sense for us to focus on surviving the animals. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're going to be killed by a wild animal. But at the same time, we have chosen to go into a place that is the wild animal's habitat. Like where I live, there's a bunch of urban foxes, and we're actually all pretty cool about it, because we were the ones who came in and built a city on top of where the foxes lived. So you can't really tell the foxes off for going through our bins and being extremely well socialized, extremely domesticated almost, that they just chill in your garden. Because what are you going to do? They're foxes. You can't tell a fox how to be how to be. You know, you can't tell a fox what to do. You can try, you can wish you could, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't get involved. Just let the foxes be foxes. Are you pro wolves or anti wolves? Well, I'm pro wolf. I mean, I'm anti being personally eaten by a wolf. But if Peter and the wolf has taught me anything, it's that wolves are cool. Wolves are good. You shouldn't try and shoot them. Really should have had a mountain in the background. This is a mountain show. I don't know why I pretended it was a beach show. Time a moose managed to get in the city he used to live in. There's a moose on the loose for like a weekend. Yet mooses are huge, I learned. I didn't realize this. They seem like they're kind of, I don't know what you expect them to be, or what I expect them to be. Maybe like a horse size, which obviously horses are big. Horses are muscular animals, but they're not like absurdly big. But yeah, mooses are huge. There was that video a couple of years ago going around about that moose walking down a highway, and it just like dwarfed these cars, which is a really good like scale to have as like a reference, because you know roughly how big a car is. Like everyone stood next to a car, and the moose was just towering over it, like all of these cars it was charging by. I had no idea. I've never been lucky enough to see a moose in real life. I think they're very cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I. No, I don't think I don't think I've ever come across a moose in real life. I've been in parts of the world where mooses kind of run rampant. You know, I've got family in Canada that I visited. I would love to do again because I really like Canada. I mean, Canada, if you like the woods and you like mountains, as I do, Canada is hard to beat as a area of land, as a part of the world. I mean, redwoods, incredible. Huge ancient trees, very impressive. Mountains, what's not to love about a mountain? We've talked at length about how impressive mountains are to be around. What's up, Super Jazz? How's it going? To catch you up, this show is ostensibly about riding goosebumps on the beach today, but instead, me and Crime Puddles have been talking about mountains, moose, wolves. It used to be a coyote that would sleep on your porch as a kid. Whoa. Oh, wait.
RB alert. RB alert. Hey everybody. It's an RB alert.
What's up, RB? How's it going? This is epic. Good morning. A slight smile to my good friend RB. There used to be a coyote that would sleep on your porch as a kid, so on your way to school every morning, you had to wait for the coyote to leave. That's awesome. But I've already, you know, I've put down my viewpoint. I've told you that I'm for letting animals be animals. If a coyote wants to live there, chances are that's where the coyotes are supposed to be living, and you've built a house in coyote country. That's on you. That's on you and your ancestors for deciding that that was inhabitable by humans. Thank you very much, the overlay. Yeah, it's because I went on a little early today, and I was going to go on even earlier, so it was going to be kind of a dot sip, kind of a multiverse. I went on slightly in between, so I'm doing a little bit of the sip and a little bit of multiverse. I've got mountain documentaries playing in the back. They do seem to have frozen somewhat, but that's fine. I'm sure they'll be back. That's kind of a scary part of the beach, if you're asking. That guy with a gas mask just hovering over everyone. Goosebumps book about the beach. Ghost Beach. I don't know if I read that one. Let's, can we look that up? I don't know if we can look that up. It's dangerous for me to look stuff up because I always lose what I'm actually supposed to be doing. Yeah, all right, we will be writing Goosebumps. Sure, we can write Goosebumps. Live close to protected land for an endangered mouse. Like, you're talking about an endangered mouse, like one, like Jerry is constantly in danger, or like a species, a specific type of mouse. I like mice. I think mice are very cool. I always wanted a mouse when I was a kid because I read that book about the. It's called Pink-Eyed Whites. I don't know who that is. Is that Roald Dahl? Dick King-Smith? Astro Rat? Arby, I saw, and I took a screenshot. I meant to send it to you. I saw on Twitter an Astro Cat. There's a guy called Astro Cat, and the picture is of a cat in a spacesuit. And it was like, what is this? So far, I found Mira Zelnut recently on Twitch, and now I found Mira Arby on Twitter. Yeah, the scariest part of the beach, I guess, is probably the threat of drowning. That's pretty scary. Some beaches, you can't walk on barefoot because of glass and needles. That's pretty scary. Not where I am. Where I am is pretty good. This beach in the background is the beach where I live, and you can't really tell that those are pebbles, not sand. There, it's a stone beach, which is, I guess, a little more dangerous walking on barefoot. It's a little more uncomfortable, but it's fine. It's cool. I've never really run into any danger on that beach. It's pretty cool. It's pretty chill. It looks pretty empty today. This is the view of it today, as far as I know. It looks pretty empty, but that is because we are still. I mean, we're not really in lockdown anymore. We kind of are, but you are allowed to go to the beach. But the weather isn't that great today. Although it is a Sunday and the sun is out, even though there is lots of rain. A type of rat that doesn't need to drink water? That can't be true. That still can't be true. Is this not a bit? Do you actually live on a beach? No, this isn't a bit. This is Brighton Beach. I mean, I don't live on the beachfront. I was going to live on the seafront. One of the places I was looking at when I first moved back was right on the Marine Parade, which is a great little bit of land. But there was too much damp. I didn't take the place in the end because the risk of damp was way too high, as it always is on the seafront. So I live a little more inland than this, but this is like, I don't know, 20 minutes away walking from me. Yeah, this is another mic thing. This is what I was thinking this when I set it up today. I was like, whoa, every mic in the world, as far as I know, lives within commuting distance of a beach called Brighton. That's just a fact. As far as I know, that is a fact. The Garfield Beach. I don't know anything about the Garfield Beach. I mean, would we? So the rat that let's circle back to this rat that doesn't need water, because it does still get water from eating seeds. Could we not do that? Is it something? Do they have a special biological process that allows them to extract the water from the seed that we don't have, or could we choose to do that as well and we just don't? I don't know how it works. All right. Well, let's do some writing then. I guess we finished the an evening with Mike Owen Crime Puddles section. Or not necessarily. We can come back to it. I very much enjoy talking about mountains with someone who lives near a bunch of mountains. You know, cats typically don't drink water in the wild. They get water from. Is that true? Is that why cats are adverse to water? Because they don't have any natural instinct for it. They don't really need it because obviously they wash themselves and they don't drink it. So maybe they find water a little baffling in captivity. I don't know. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, it would make sense to me that if you didn't naturally need to be near anything, and yet somebody kept trying to shove you into it, you, even if it was harmless, you would still think, God, this is weird. I don't like this. Beach cat, main character cat, scared of the water, but it lives on the beach. What are you going to do? The Merrim's kangaroo rat. Is that the rat that doesn't need water? Is this true, or is this one of those things like when you talk about cars that run on water? Does it exist? I can see it has a Wikipedia page. So do a lot of things I don't believe in. Like the Earth being a globe. There are sources cited on Wikipedia. I'm not convinced. How would I walk on a globe? Nonsense. Though I had flat feet as a kid and I was made to walk on marbles to cure it. So maybe I can walk on globe. Maybe I've had lots of experience. Maybe I've had more than the average amount of experience walking on globes. Now that I think about it. Now that I think about it, the Earth probably is a globe. Now that I think about it. So where are we at with Goosebumps? Let's do a recap, shall we? I'll read what we've got so far. It's only a couple of passages. It was an unusually stormy night in the sleepy town of Spookbrook, Illinois. Jackson was a tough kid. He was so tough, he didn't even wince while getting his meningitis jab. In fact, it tickled. He hadn't been able to sleep, however, since learning that the president had a gun. It wasn't that he was scared. Jackson Hardwire didn't know the meaning of the word. Just ask his English teacher. It was that this would make it harder for him to achieve the dream he had had since last summer while attending President's Camp. The dream was simple: to fight every living president. Beckham scored a powerful goal on the TV. He turned to the camera and winked. The president, Lou Dog, winked back, as if this was a moment between just the two of them. His advisor, Cherry Red, furrowed her brow in confusion. Did the president know something she didn't? Nah, she thought. The president knows what I tell him to know. And that's where we're at so far. Yeah, the president has a gun. See, now you're thinking like Jackson Hardwire, toughest kid in school. Now you're thinking like Jackson. I mean, he wasn't aware of this. Now he's aware of this. I realize that when I do this, it kind of looks like the straw is my microphone. I was a little confused about what that was. It's the little cocktail straw is the microphone. So, yeah, not really sure where the story's gone so far or where it's going. But I guess the best way to write is Stephen King style. Just do it. Don't bother with the outline. Just get into it. We know basically what it's about, I think. Actually, I don't really know what the thing is. I think last week we were talking about there being multiple people because of the TV. But then a few weeks before, we were talking about how it was about a kid who could see expiry dates. So I'm not really sure what's happening. I don't really know where we're leading to. I don't know where we're going with this. But what I do know is we're going to get there if we just keep trying. I know we're going to get there because we said the other day that we were going to start writing something else. Forgotten what that is too. In fact, I think it was you who suggested it, Jazz, what we were going to write next. Oh, Midsummer, I think. Midsummer, but it's Cable 2. Let's get a third kid in there. Yeah, that's a good idea. Wait, is the suggestion that the president is a kid? Because he could be. I think that was one of our notes, that we were going to have a kid president. Could the kid see expiry dates on humans? Yes, I think that was the thing. That the kid would look at like his grandma and he'd know when she was going to die. And I think that was what was scary. But maybe it's one of those things that like it starts out small. Like he can see, kind of like Unbreakable, kind of like the film Unbreakable, which again, I think I mentioned recently. I saw for the first time in 20 years, a couple of weeks ago. So it's still kind of in my head. Where he starts off just having hunches about stuff that he thinks is just kind of good intuition. But then as it goes on, he starts to train it and it becomes more developed and he can actually see visions of stuff. So this could be like, it starts out kind of cool. Like you can just look at an Oreo or a generic sandwich cream cookie and he knows when it's going to go off. But then he looks at his grandma. As it goes on, his strength develops, Psychic powers are like a muscle. The more you use them, the better they get, the stronger they get. The kid was just so much a kid that he thought everyone could see it, so it never came up. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. He starts doing it, and it's just like a cool party trick for this kid, right? He's not that bothered by it. I wouldn't be scared by that as a kid. If it started happening as an adult, maybe I would. As a kid, I think I might be fine with it. And of course, lest we forget, another part of the format of the show is, oh, that would have been so sweet if that went in the bullseye. But it didn't. Is, of course, darts. Again, much closer. Regularly unclear, constantly unclear how the darts relate to anything. But we're going to be doing it. We're going to be flinging darts on the beach. It's never been done before. To my knowledge, this is a record-breaking event. Yes, real darts. Yeah, I know. That's the illusion of it all. You think that that's just an image source over there, don't you? You think that's just a little picture of a dartboard I stuck on here for no reason. It is, in fact, a real dartboard that I have a special circular camera set up on my wall. And I'm just flinging sharp objects next to a series of expensive equipment. It started when you were like 3, you would just stop questioning at some point. I think that's true. I do think that's true. I think, you know, X-Men are always a little bit shocked by their powers because they manifest at puberty. If you could become Wolverine at age 3, by the time you hit puberty, you would just be like, yeah, I'm a strong, hairy little guy. I got claws. And maybe it would become a little difficult for you once you got to, you changed school, you moved to high school, and you showed someone your claws, and they were like, what the hell? We don't have claws. Maybe you're homeschooled, and then your family lost it all in the Great Depression, and they started sending you to a public school. And so for the first time, you weren't being sheltered from the reality that being a hairy little guy with claws is not the norm. It's not the mainstream way of being as a teen. That would be difficult. Maybe that's a story I want to write as well. Let's add that to the multiverse calendar. Wolverine, a novel. I think it'd be a funny plot twist that this kid has superpowers the entire time, but it just never came up because the kid thought everyone could do it. I mean, that is extremely Goosebumps. If you read Goosebumps enough as a kid, you will be well aware that Stein loves to throw in a twist in the final paragraph that may or may not really make any sense. That's just like, oh yeah, and this thing was also true this entire time. Those guys were turtles the entire time. That's a Goosebumps story that has stuck with me all my life. I don't know if any of you have read that. It's one of the short stories. It's about this. It's not turtles. It's monkeys, because it's this guy, and there's like there's like this weird new guy who comes into the community, right? And the whole of the story is about how strange this new thing is. And you're like, whoa, what are they? Some sort of alien, some sort of pod person? And then at the end, the twist is like, it's a community of apes. And this is like, I don't know, some sort of anthropologist or something, some sort of scientist who's gone in to live with the apes to study them. And that's what's weird about them, is that they're a human and not a monkey man. And that's the story. Works pretty well. Pretty thrilling stuff. I mean, it's stuck with me all these years. Like, I mean, decades that has been in my head. The final sentence was something like, "Oh, now I realized what was different about this guy. They weren't an ape," and that was the big conclusion to the story. That was the climax of it, the coda, the denouement. Yeah, the Planet of the Apes ending is thrilling. And I can see why you as a writer might want to create something that evokes the same feelings in people. And the best way to do that is to make a story about apes and humans. And they're not sure what's going on until finally they are, which is essentially what Planet of the Apes is about. One where a kid turns into a chicken. I don't remember that. I remember one where a kid turns into a dog. Trying to think of the name of that. It's not a Shaggy Dog Story. I know it's not. It's I don't know. I was a teenage dog, something like that. I mean, I think it was that. It was something like that. The summer of the time I turned into a dog. What I did on my summer vacation was turning into a dog. It'll be along that, that's kind of the Goosebumps formula. Which reminds me, we don't have a title for this, which is maybe because we don't really know what the plot is yet, even though we've already started writing it. Chicken Chicken. Oh, it's an interesting title. That's not a very Goosebumps title. One I always liked was Say Cheese and Die. Because I love it. It's like an action hero kind of thing to say, except it's not really a play on anything because the phrase is just say cheese. It's not like I guess maybe it's supposed to be like say cheese and smile, but you don't say cheese and smile because the point of saying cheese is it kind of creates the look of a smile is the thing. The puppet one is Night of the Living Dummy, which actually is a play on something, at least. That one makes sense. Night of the Living Dummy, which I guess is dummy is standing in for dead. And I guess it does make sense because the dummy does come alive and typically dummies aren't alive. So that does work as a title. It's not really great wordplay because there's no sort of rhyme or anything. And the plot doesn't generally kind of correlate to a zombie story. But it's okay. It's not that bad. A goth kid turns another kid into a chicken. Why does he do that? And does he learn a lesson in the end? Is the ironic twist that he then turns into a different animal at the end? It's like he found a book that turns people into chickens, and then at the end, they open a different book, and it's called How to Turn Your Bully into a Lizard, and that's the twist at the end. Like the twist of my favorite Goosebumps book as a kid, which was Vampire Blood, and at the end, it starts off he finds a vial in his basement labeled Vampire Blood, and that leads on to a scary adventure about a vampire in the basement, and the vampire turns out to be his grandpa, and he is in fact a vampire by genetic heritage. And then at the end, he finds a vial called Werewolf Sweat, and that's like the not really a cliffhanger, sort of like a sequel hook for a book that never got written. It's just kind of like a little jokey ending, and that was quite popular in Goosebumps. The period in a time where old folks used to get the Goosebumps cover with a hammerhead shark on it as a tattoo. Really? I can see Goosebumps. It feels like there must have been a time in like the mid 2000s where like they used to be a trend on Tumblr of like sweaters with pictures of things on it that weren't on a sweater. I don't really know why, but yeah, sort of mid 2000s where like I can see Goosebumps coming in as like a thing you would have like printed all over a sweater, the Goosebumps logo, the slime, the goo spumps. Like some kids wanted to bully this goth girl, and the twist is that the goth girl is cool, but then the other kids pissed her off again and she turned them into pigs. See, I knew it. I told you, and I even knew it would be a different animal because that is the way Stein works. It's always like a slight twist on the original premise. It's like, wow, I'm glad we don't have to deal with that exact thing again. But I have just stumbled into a situation where something very similar but slightly different might happen. Kind of like a sort of ironic punishment ending, but not really. Because usually just like, here we go again. But this time, it's a pig. Piggy piggy. Stein said he took the plot from Stephen King's Thinner. For which one? For Chicken Chicken? I mean, I guess, yeah, because the plot of Thinner is that, and again, this is an extremely un-PC story, written in an era where I guess we were less sensitive to these things, but some rich guy gets into like a fender bender or something. He hits a gypsy woman, which of course is not a word that we actually use, but there is no better word in this context, I feel like, because it's not actually there is no specifics to it. It's not a real person. It's a person that only exists to fulfill the stereotype of that within the book. And naturally, being of traveler origin, this woman puts a curse on him to make him very thin, which is bad. I mean, it starts off okay because he begins as quite a fat man, I think, but then goes beyond the point of losing a reasonable amount of weight and shrivels down. I don't remember how it ends. I think maybe it ends all right for him. But yeah, so what? How is it thinner but with chickens then? Does he gradually turn into a chicken? Like he starts growing feathers? I think that's what happened with the dog one. I think it wasn't like immediately turned into a dog. I think the dog one is like slowly transforming into a dog until there is. I think one of the other story plot points that we were going to have in this was that all the adults suddenly disappeared, which I feel like was already a story. I don't know. Was there a Twilight Zone where that happened, or something similar? I think where the adults disappear and it's just the kids. I feel like that was a keys in well to the president being the president. Why? Because it's a kid. Because all the adults have disappeared. I think maybe that's our final act twist, is that the adults have been gone all along. I think let's just put in as many twists. Maybe I'm going to start a new note. Okay, and this new note is going to be called twist endings. And we're going to use all of these, okay? It's going to be like kind of like how Lord of the Rings ends 100 different ways. Like every time you think it's the climax, there's like another coda on the end of it, just constant epilogues. We're going to kind of do that where an entire act of this story is going to be revealing all the twists. So I think, yeah, adults have been gone all along. So even the characters that we think are adults have been kids the whole time. I think the book take place 100,000 years. 100,000. I just added on many years to your suggestion. No, don't let it die. Kiss of life. Kiss that laptop. The book takes place 1,000 years in the future. I'm into it. The Jimmy Neutron movie, is that what I don't think that's what I'm thinking of. I've never seen Jimmy Neutron. But maybe I am. Maybe. I think it's probably been a plot of a lot of things, right? Adults going missing. I feel like there was a sort of thriller about that as well, but I don't know exactly if that's true. So oh yeah, the kids had powers all along. Oh, the kid had powers all along, but he never mentioned it. And he never mentioned it because he thought it was normal. It just didn't come up. The Earth is a clone of the original Earth. It could also be like kind of like The Village, or the story that The Village was supposedly a ripoff of, about they're in like a human zoo that replicates 20th century Earth. So that's why you don't know it's 1,000 years in the future, because they've been put in a deliberate replica. The kids aren't humans, but plant fungus hybrids. Yes. Yes. We're using all of these. There are no bad ideas. Okay. So it's going to be difficult to make all these work together because some of them seem slightly contradictory. So the entire story is a video game made by someone in the Matrix. So right now, it takes place 1,000 years in the future. So that works with the Matrix thing because so does the Matrix, or more than 1,000 years, in fact. But that makes sense that, it kind of works then with the Matrix being that it's a zoo that replicates 20th century Earth, because the Matrix was also kind of that. It's also a video game though, so none of them are real, which I do like. That's very Black Mirror. Like I feel like, and I'm not a watcher of Black Mirror. I'm not a Black Mirror fan because I do find it is all a bit like what we're doing right now, which is not super entertaining to me on an unironic level. But I've watched, that I know there's been at least two, right, where the end is that it was an app, right? It was like an app on a phone. There's that one where they're meeting their soulmates and they run away from the system that says that they have to date who they're put with in this cabin or whatever. And then it turns out it was all an algorithm. None of it happened. We were just watching an algorithm work on an app, on a dating app. Because that's what dating apps are, if you think about it. They're prisons. They're dystopian prisons. Jazz's friend Eric is in it. Oh, I thought we almost got away without it spell checking me, putting 3 Zs in there. 3 Zs, sorry, for my North American friends. That would be a twist. If the final page was like that that Time magazine cover that's a mirror for Man of the Year. It's a good twist. What's a good twist? I don't know how bad the delay is. The good twist that it's an algorithm? Or the Eric thing. Yeah, the Eric thing's going to be good. The last page, I'm going to put this in as well. I'm not sure how we're going to do this on Scrivener. And by the way, Scrivener is a great app. It's a great bit of kit. It's only about $45. One-time license. None of this subscription stuff that all the other big names are using now. Scrivener. It's a great app. The Eric bit. Yeah, they're going to love the Eric bit. See, that's why I don't like Black Mirror, because it says that apps are bad, but actually Scrivener is an app. And I found Scrivener extremely helpful as an app. I love Scrivener. It's only about $45 for a one-time license fee. No recurring subscription. You don't need to pay extortionate amounts for life in order to use this excellent bit of software. Oh yeah, this is sponsored content. Well, I'm trying to get sponsored by Scrivener. Ending it with Neo putting down a controller for a game and then the plot of The Matrix. So this is a prequel to The Matrix. This is a prequel to The Matrix. Neo has been playing our book this whole time. Neo puts down a controller for a game. And I'm going to put in here as well, just for context, which is a book, which is our book. And the plot of The Matrix starts. Yeah. So this is a prequel to The Matrix. This happens immediately before we first meet Neo. He's playing this video game while he's waiting for the little floppy disk or the little mini disk to finish downloading for the guy who invites him to the club at the start of the first film before he gets the message from Trinity. Matrix prequel about some kid trying to fight the president who's a child named Eric, who is my friend. Yeah. Absolutely. And I guess we've already named the president Lou Dog, but I guess at the end we can do a kind of a Dark Knight Rises thing, where they find Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character's ID and they're like, I thought your name was John, but it says here on your driving license that your name is actually Robin the Boy Wonder. And he's like, yeah, I guess I have been Robin all along. Yeah, so yeah, Lou Dog, obviously, he then he goes to get his. Well, I guess it can't be a driving license because one of the twists is that he's been a child this whole time, a child named Eric, and yeah, I don't know what ID do kids have. I guess he could have a passport. He's fleeing the country because he's been Watergated. He's been Watergated, waterboarded, stonewalled. And he's not having it anymore. And he's trying to leave the country. He's going to Canada to hang out with the redwoods in the mountains. And he takes out his passport and they're like, I guess because I voted for you, sir, Mr. President, sir, and I thought your name was Lou Dog, but it says here your name is Mike's buddy Eric, and then you turn the page and it's a reflective, it's a mirror, and when Eric reads it, he's gonna get such a shock because he's gonna go, "Huh, Mike's friend Eric, but well, that's my name," and he's gonna turn the page and it's gonna say, "And this is the president," and underneath is the mirror, and he's gonna look at it and be like, "Huh? That's exactly my face. My name and my face. I know what that equals." Yeah, the last. I mean, basically, we could just use this note that we've written right now to be the final page of the book, or the second to last page, because the final page is a mirror, a black mirror. It's just a page of black ink. I read something recently about how expensive ink is, but I don't remember the facts, so I'm not going to repeat it. But it's very expensive. So I'm excited. I don't know about you guys. I'm excited. Have we written any more of the book today? No, we haven't. Not yet. We've still got 10 minutes or so. A black mirror like a television screen. Exactly. The last. Okay. So the final page is an LCD screen. Okay, and it's off to begin with. So when you turn the page, you see a dark reflection of yourself, which is creepy and prescient and extremely meaningful and poignant and pungent. It's a scratch and sniff, and then you turn it on, you press the button, and it's a clip of a game over screen. Then it pulls out. Okay, it pulls away from the game over screen, and there is one Thomas Anderson, de-aged at great cost. Right, it's modern day Keanu, but I did see the trailer for the new Bill and Ted, and without the beard, he's that whole Kanye. I almost called him Kanye Reeves. Kanye Reeves. Right, I'm adding that in. Don't know what it means. I'm putting it in the twist section. Yeah, the whole immortal Keanu thing doesn't really work that much once you see him without the beard. The beard does a lot for him, I think. He's still a great looking guy, obviously. But we've de-aged him to make him look 1999 era Keanu. And he puts down the controller. I guess in 99 it would have been, I don't know, what was the most advanced, a PlayStation 1. He would have been on a PSX, not even a PS2 at that stage. Even though this does take place 1,000 years in the future, but in his world it's still 1999 as far as he knows. And he puts down the PSX controller, wired, corded, attached, as if by umbilical cord, to the console. And he switches off his screen, and his computer buzzes. It's a message from Trinity. And he's saying, "How are you doing this?" And then it says, "Follow the white rabbit." And then there's a knock at his door. It's his friend, it's his client. And his client wants the disc. And then Thomas Anderson says, "If you get caught with this, you didn't get it from me." And he's like, yeah, I know. Hey, you look bad, man. What's going on? And Neo says, "Well, I just finished this great video game, and I don't know, it's just left me in a funk. I feel like you ever feel like you're in a dream." And then the guy at the door says, "Yeah, it's called mescaline. It's the only way to fly. Hey, we're going to a club later. Do you want to come to the club?" And Thomas Anderson, he's not so sure about it. But then he sees a tattoo on the girl who's come with the client, and she has a white rabbit tattoo. And he thinks back to the message he got from Trinity on his computer screen that said to follow the white rabbit. And so he agrees to go to the club. And so they're at the club, and Thomas Anderson he's just hanging out there, and a woman approaches. Very attractive woman, late 20s, early 30s, slick hair, fully kitted out in leather, in quite form-fitting leather. I suppose leather by its nature tends to be quite form-fitting. There's not a lot of elasticity in it. And she goes up to him, and I think she calls him by his name, by his other name, Neo. And he's like, Trinity? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, whoa. She says, not what you expecting? And he says, no, I thought you would be a guy. And they have a little chat about how he's been looking for Morpheus, and Morpheus wants to talk to him. And there's a little confusion about how she's managed to do this, to track him down and to control his computer. And she suggests to him that he already knows. He kind of already knows the answer. So then I think we're in the office. I think we're in the office next, and a package arrives addressed to Thomas Anderson at his desk, and it is a phone. It's a Nokia, colloquially known as the banana phone. I can't think exactly what the code of it is now, but when we write this, when we script it, we'll get it down. And he flips it open. In real life, it didn't have a spring-loaded cover. But for the purposes of what we're shooting, it would be better if we could kind of custom rig that so that it popped open. It's just a more dynamic thing to see on screen than him sliding it down manually. So he pops it open, and on the other end of the line is Morpheus. And Morpheus tells him that they're coming for him, right? The agents. Okay. We don't really know what the agents are yet, but we'll get there. And he looks over, and there are these smartly dressed men, these kind of gaunt and yet imposing. Physically they look like like a strong wind might snap them, and yet there is something powerful about them, something menacing, something imposing. And they're asking someone for direction somewhere, and this guy points in the direction of Neo's cubicle, right? He's in this cubicle farm because he's kind of this like he's just a cog in the machine of this like IT company where he works. And he points in the direction of it, and Neo ducks down behind the wall of his cubicle, and Morpheus tells him that he needs to leave now if he just does exactly what Morpheus says. And so Morpheus instructs him. He gives him directions out of the cubicle farm to hide away, and he's telling them when to stop and when to go and what to duck under. Like, how does he know this? How is he seeing it? It's confusing. We'll find out later. But at the moment, it's like blowing Neo's mind and kind of the audience's mind as well. And he leads him through the cubicle farm, and then tells him he goes into an empty office, right? And he tells him to climb out the window and walk down across this ledge, right? And it's so dangerous. You talk about the danger of climbing a mountain, even of free solo climbing. But I mean, this almost pales in comparison, really. I mean, and it does present this sort of, and I'm using this in the colloquial sense, vertigo. I know that's not really what vertigo is, but I feel like within the kind of the cultural consciousness, we understand when people say vertigo, when they mean a fear of heights, which is not the same thing at all. But obviously the feelings have enough similarity. There's enough overlap that it's commonly known as that. And Neo's getting this crazy sense of it. So are we. Like the everything seems to be like bending and warping, and it's just impossible height. And he drops the phone. He's so scared and kind of disoriented by the position that he's in. He drops the phone. The phone falls all the way down to the ground. And if anything, that makes him more scared, because then he's got a real kind of frame of reference for the height that he would drop. And so he's having none of this. He's scared for his life. He doesn't. Now, later on, we'll find out why this wasn't actually dangerous. Or I suppose at this point it is, because he doesn't know a very specific thing. And I'm not going to spoil it yet, but we'll get there. And so Neo turns back, and he allows the agents to find him. Okay, it's a calculated risk. He feels like that's the better of two evils. And so then we're in an interrogation room. Okay, we're in an interrogation room, and Neo is sat opposite a man called Agent Smith, and there's another agent in the room. I believe Agent Jones is there as well, but Smith is the guy we're focused on, right? Because Smith is the most imposing of them all, and again, kind of shouldn't be, because he's kind of a slight guy. He is very gaunt, skeletal almost. There's something kind of, I don't know. There is a kind of exoticness to his look, a kind of alien set of features, but there is something. I mean, it's very scary as well. There's just something, you can see behind his eyes, even with these glasses on, these kind of permanently fixed on sunglasses. You know that there's a menace behind there. There's a violent man if he wants to be, and he starts interrogating him. He talks about this other life that Neo has. He's Thomas Anderson, but he's also known as Neo. He's a hacker, and he's been in contact with Trinity, who Smith refers to as a terrorist, right? He's trying to warn Neo against getting involved with these people, right? And Neo's like, hey, enough of this Gestapo crap, all right? I know my rights. I want my phone call. And Smith, I think for the first time, he takes off his sunglasses. And I told you there was something in his eyes that you want to be scared of, that, evolutionary instincts kick in. This is a predator. And he says, well, what good is a phone call if you can't speak? Right? And Neo's like, what the hell are you talking about? Or he wants to be. But the thing is, he can't open his mouth because the skin around it has started to morph and to warp and to grow and to seal. Like, it's becoming featureless. Okay, it's just solidifying, just this block of flesh where his mouth once was, and he's squirming and he's upset, and the agents grab him and they put him on the table. Okay, and they rip open his shirt so that his navel is exposed, and they open this little vial thing, and they pull out what looks like a fuse, just a little glass cylinder. But as they hold it and they hover it over his stomach, it comes to life. It starts to sprout these tendrils and these tentacles and turn into this kind of half mechanical, half organic creature, like this insect, sort of scorpion-like or arachnoid in nature, but with this kind of scorpion-like tail, and they dangle it over, and it's whipping and writhing around, and it's just so creepy. It's like, it's unnatural. You don't know what it is, and they hover it over his abdomen, and it kind of latches these barbs onto the inside of his belly button and crawls inside his stomach, and then he wakes up in his bed. He's got his mouth back. There's no signs of any kind of surgical intervention on his stomach. He must have dreamt it, right? He must have. And he goes outside, and there's a car waiting for him, and it's Trinity and Cypher. Okay, Cypher's very cool. Cypher's this kind of cool androgynous hacker who is dressed all in white, in kind of a stark contrast to the black clad members of the crew. Basically, everyone else wears black apart from Cypher. It's a power move, and they're not sure if they're safe. And Cypher's got a gun, and Neo's not sure that's necessary, but pretty sure it is. And they pull out this kind of weird contraption. It's like a sort of ray gun with a vacuum attachment to it. And this big glass tube, like it looks like a kind of paintball gun, but deadlier. Yes, there are vampires in the Matrix. There are vampires in the Matrix. That is a spooky thing. There are vampires. There are werewolves. There are ghosts. That's canon, and it's because I learned this. This is not explained in the text of the movie, but is explained elsewhere apparently. In previous iterations of the Matrix, because we know this isn't the first, there were these other creatures. These creatures of mythology did exist originally in former versions of the Matrix, and these are like leftovers, like the Merovingian. I think that's why the Merovingian has such a connection to them, because he kind of gives them safe haven. He harbors these fugitive programs, and so that's why there are supernatural things in the real world, because there are holdover programs. And that's a great question, and one I'm glad you asked, and also a great end to the show. because I have actually run out my time. I've run out the clock. And so that's it. I don't know who's coming up next. I believe we've got a Warp Zone coming up shortly, hopefully followed by a Fantasy Flight or an RB party. There's definitely RB content on its way, as far as I know. Thank you all for coming on this wonderful journey for me. Very productive. It doesn't look like we wrote anything, but we did actually get a lot of work done. And I got to talk about mountains, which is my new favorite thing to do. So thank you, everybody, for coming with me on this journey through the supernatural and the natural that seems like it should be supernatural, like a mountain. Doesn't seem like it should exist, but it does, and I will reach the top of one day. But as always, remember to be kind to every single version of yourself throughout the multiverse. I love you all. Thank you for letting me talk about mountains for a very long time and to describe the first 20 minutes of The Matrix in as much detail as I could remember. I will see you all in the chat later. I will see you all next week on the show. I will see you all in your dreams, not in my dreams, in your dreams. Until then, see ya.